Our Torah reading focuses on the challenges of Jacob. Parsha Vayetze has Jacob on the run. And as I noted in the introduction, Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva, and Jacob went out from Beersheva, Vayelech Harana, he went toward Haran. The addition that he's coming from Beersheva seems superfluous, because it's clear where he was living, except it emphasizes a transition. He's leaving behind everything that's familiar, and he's going out in search of a bride, in search of a new life, not sure how it will unfold. And it doesn't unfold so neatly. Namely, it begins pretty good. He meets his cousin Rachel at the well, and Popeye-like removes a huge stone, demonstrating his strength. He meets his uncle, Lavan, and everything looks great. After 1 year, his uncle says, you shouldn't be working for free. You're working. What would you like? And he says, I have fallen in love with your daughter, Rachel. Let me marry her. Let me work for her. And Lavan says, fine, 7 years, she's yours. He works for 7 years. And then it's worth turning just to look on first page 171. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. Ve'yu ve'inav keyamim achadim, and they were in his eyes as if but a few days. Ve'ahavato ota, so was his love of her. And then the time on page 172 comes to consummate his love, and a celebration begins. And verse 23, when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and Jacob cohabitated with her. When morning came, verse 25, there was Leah. So he said to Lavan, Jacob says to Lavan, what is this you have done to me? I was in your service for Rachel. Why did you deceive me? Lavan said, it's not the practice in our place to marry off the younger before the older. Wait until the week of celebration is over, and then I'll give you the younger one too, provided you agree to serve another 7 years. Jacob did so. He waited until the bridal week of the one, and then he gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. So the first challenge is, how is it that Rachel went along with it? This is her big night. Jacob's in love with her. Somehow, her sister is the one who takes her place at the ceremony, if there is a ceremony, which isn't recorded, but clearly in the marital bedroom. And the rabbis say as follows. They say that as Leah was the older sister, and as Esav was Jacob's brother, she was told she was going to marry Esav. And so she cried throughout her years when she found out that these two brothers were so different. And indeed, it will say of Leah that she had a naim rakot, which can be understood as either weak eyes, or it can also be as fair eyes, depending on how you want to read it. But the midrash is that she cried herself to sleep every night with the fear that she was going to marry Esav, the man of the field, the brother who was not so easy. And so on this night, her sister Rachel, who somehow, on one hand, is presented by the rabbis as very kind, perhaps has another dimension, which is that she's a little bit arm's length about this man who is so deeply in love with her. Sometimes it works that way, that you might feel overwhelmed by somebody's yearning for you. And so Rachel makes a switch. The rabbis say that Rachel had said to Jacob, you know, my father's a trickster. And so here's going to be my secret word on the night of my wedding, that you should know that it's me and not my sister. This is the rabbi's imagining of how it happened. And so they have this code word. But at the last moment, Rachel, feeling sorry for her sister, sorry that she would be embarrassed as the older sister not to be married before the younger, that Rachel says to Leah, here's the code word. And so tonight, in the dark, when Jacob comes into the bedroom, this is what you're going to say to him after the night of drinking and celebrating. And so Rachel, at least as the rabbis imagine it, is in on the deal. That's how it happened, how it could have happened. Because clearly, if Rachel really wanted Jacob, it wouldn't have gone down so smoothly as it seems to have gone down. One thing that people often don't recognize, in fact, even heard a Devar Torah recently that overlooked it, and that is Lavan knows that he has done something that was a little bit unexpected, and so he doesn't say you got to wait another 7 years. He says, okay, at the end of the week, this is only day 1, I'll give you Rachel 2, but then you got to work another 7 years. We've already said that's the standard amount of work you got to do for one of my daughters. And he does. So he's deeply in love. And here's where it's going. And there's actually 2 verses that I wanted to focus in on, but the lead up may be too long. And that is verse 31. This is still lead up. V'yar Adonai ki sanua Leah, and God saw that Leah was hated. V'yivtach et rachma v'rachel akara, and he opened her womb, that of Leah, and Rachel was barren. Now, that's a tough framing. The word sanua, hated, as you will see in the commentary, both above the line and below the line, is softened. So they say that he didn't outright hate her, otherwise he wouldn't be sleeping with her. They don't add that. That was my addition. But that relatively to Rachel, she was less loved. So Sanua is not hated, it's less loved. He, Jacob, is still yearning for Rachel. Okay, but here's the part that I wanted to focus on. Still too much lead up. Leah has 4 sons, one after the other. The first one she names Reuven. Now he's going to look at me. Second, Shimon. Now Jacob will listen to me. Sad, isn't it? Third son, Levi. Now he'll accompany me. And so she's had this remarkable 3 sons for Jacob. Rachel, no sons. And now this is where I wanted to focus on. Page 174, verse 35. V'tahar od, and Leah now gets pregnant a 4th time. V'teled ben, and she gives birth to a son. V'tomer, and she says, Hapam, this time, odeh et Adonai, I am grateful to God. Al kain, therefore, I'll karashmo Yehuda, I'll call his name Judah, which is, as a root, means source of gratitude. V'tamod miledet, and she stood at giving birth, meaning she stopped giving birth. The next verse, V'tereh Rachel, and Rachel saw, ki lo yalda liYaakov, that she had not given birth to Jacob. V'tikaneh Rachel ba'achotah, and Rachel was jealous of her sister. V'tomer el Yaakov, and she said to Jacob, Hava li banim, bring to me sons. V'im ayin meta anochi, and if not, I am as if dead. So here's the piece that I found fascinating in preparing to this morning's Parsha, is that the jealousy of Rachel is only expressed after the fourth son. So the question is, why not after the first son or the second? And more remarkably, in this case, the fourth son, Yehuda, for whom we're named Jews, he's the first of the four that is not a means to an end, meaning not so that Jacob will pay attention to me, but an expression of gratitude. The question is, what is the reason for the timing of the jealousy and such extreme jealousy, right? If I don't have a child now, I'm as good as dead. There's a lot of rabbinic commentaries on why she is using that extreme language, what that means, but time is limited not to unpack that. I had hoped to open up to a conversation, but we don't have the time because it's 11:45. And I am looking to have announcements at 12. So just some thoughts on what is for the first, every time I teach, I am challenged by my teacher, Rabbi Simon Greenberg, to say something that I've never said before, which is to say that when I read the Parsha, I kind of wait to see what's going to pop up. That's never popped up before. For me, what popped up was the timing of her despair. Why after the fourth son? So a few thoughts. One, what is she jealous of? She's jealous, Rachel, that her sister is now self-contained, that her sister now has a relationship with God, so that she can say, with the birth of this child, praise be God. And in observing that her sister is now whole in that way, that's when she says, I too need a son. And if not, I'm as good as dead. Where is my vitality as a person compared to my sister who seems so fulfilled? So that's one piece. The other is that that's the main piece for me. I'd be making up a second one. That's the one that really resonates for me. That it's not just about having children. It's not just about sons. If that was the case, she would be jealous after the first child or the second or the third. But what's changed now is something about Leah. And in terms of these two sisters, that's the source of jealousy. Some closing thoughts. I'm a student of the Zohar. I may have shared this through the years because it's already over 5 years that I'm trying to get through the Zohar. I hope to finish by March 15th, so put it on your calendar, not for me, but for yourselves, in that Danny Madd, who's translated and written the commentary on the Zohar, will be our guest on Sunday, March 15th, which is my target date for finishing the 12 volumes published by Stanford that Danny Madd has worked on for 18 years. So in the Zohar, Jacob is considered harmony. Abraham is kindness, Isaac is restraint, Jacob is harmony. He's, if you will, the balanced one. And look what's happening in our Parsha with Jacob. He loves Rachel, and Rachel doesn't seem to be bothered by a need for him. She's willing to have her sister marry him. She's not even yearning for having children with him, per se, until the sister, Leah, seems somehow elevated, whole, in relationship with God. So there's a paradox here. He, Jacob, longs for Rachel, and Rachel longs, it's not clear, for something else lacking in her life, which is why in the verse I didn't read, he gets angry with her. It says the next verse. It's as if, what, I'm not good enough? My love isn't enough? And apparently it's not. If I don't have a son, I don't care how much you love me. I'm as good as dead. Which is to say, to pull this together, that Jacob, who for our mystic ancestors will become the one who is balanced in life, in this drama of 2 wives, of 4 wives, his is a journey of finding balance that will unfold. Rachel will have Joseph and later Benjamin, but there will never be completeness either. And such is the drama of what we're reading in Genesis. For our ancestors, life is never all sweet. Life is never all complete. That life in any moment is incomplete, but marked by yearnings that define our direction and that can lead, so we're taught, to wholeness. Ribbon Shalom, Master of the universe, as Leah found her wholeness, and as Jacob will find wholeness, and Rachel too, may we know that life is in pursuit of completeness, and yet absolute completeness always remains only yours. May we yet strive to be closer to you in shleimut, in wholeness. Amen.